All right, independent practice time. So you're going to go back to your first activity and you're going to look at the two maps. You don't have to go back up actually, I just have linked them down below. You're going to take a look at those two maps again through the lens of power. So you're going to look specifically at who has it and who doesn't. And when you're done, you're going to answer the questions that fall below them. So over the course of your year, you as historians will be analyzing, discussing, and exploring questions connected to power and rebellion, revolution, and oppression. And a question that you're going to see often is who has power and why. This could be economic power, this could be cultural power, this can be political power, but sort of like who has it and why do they have it, and ultimately like how can those that don't get it back. So here are those two projections again, the Bremen and the Mercator projections. So you're thinking about who created them, who has power, who doesn't, in this example. So this first one is looking at how might size connect to power. I mean, this can be anything, it doesn't just have to be projections of maps, but when something is very, very large, how do we perceive power dynamics in it? And if something is very small, how do we perceive dynamics in it? And then sort of think of examples of where that has also been. Question number 2 is asking you to think through when Africa is shown and represented at its correct continental size, so when we can fit all of those other nations into it, when it's appropriately proportioned, how might that perception of who has power change and why? So when we show Africa very, very large, the continent of Africa like it's supposed to be in comparison to other nations, some of whom took over very large portions of Africa, how does that change our perception, if it does at all, about who has power and who doesn't? And think about like independence movements, think about like struggling for power, and how people do that. Number 3 is asking you, how might maps show our how might maps shape our perception of who has power and why? So just like maps broadly, if I'm thinking about who has maps, who has power and who doesn't based on map images, I actually have a really great example. It's like a little hard to show it here, but maybe I can. I need to hang it up still. But I've got a map down here that's showing a representation of the world. It's an old world map from the 50s. A big old world map from the 50s that shows. Oh dear guys, I've made a big mess. Shows the United States, so North America and South America, in the center of the global picture, and then it shows Africa and Asia kind of, they've like cut it down the center and split it. And that was like a very popular projection that was made in the 1950s and 60s, and even was like one that hung in the classrooms that I learned in for a very long time. So like how does drawing a map that way show who has power and who doesn't, who's the most important and who is the least important? Like how does that kind of projection show power? Number 4, these map projections that we saw above, this one down here that I have, they're not new. And if we know that they distort the truth, like it's a pretty widely known thing, particularly among social scientists, historians, anthropologists, etc., etc. And even some like lay people have become more and more aware of it. If we know that maps distort the truth, why do we still use them? So these like old outdated map projections that we know are lying about, they're lying about size, and why are they still used in particular ways? So that's question number 4. Question 5 is, why is thinking about who has power and why it's an important question to ask as a historian. So why is thinking about who has power and why they have that power an important question to ask? Even if something is so simple as just the map projection that we have hanging up. And then last but not least, so it's just a bonus. Includes any interesting facts you might know about African history and or civilization. It can be ancient Egypt, it can be South Africa, it can be the Ivory Coast, it can be Morocco, it could be Djibouti, it could be just like really any interesting thing that you have about African history or civilization that you'd like to share here. Just going to give you a voice in it. And then last but not least, we've got our mastery check. This was a pretty short video, so I'll do it here. You're going to click on this website here. It's going to take you to this. And I want you to explore this a little bit. This particular site, it's comparing map projections. So more and more people are aware of these inequitable projections on power and shape and size and distortion. So you can sort of look at these and figure out, like, what do these show? Pardon me. And some of them are made for like very different reasons. And you can, if you click on them, so let's say I want to look at this one because it's cute, it looks like a heart. And the Cabot, you can compare these two. So you click on it. See, there's the Cabot, and there's the Boone. You can compare them side by side. It's like land area where they fall. This is comparing like the space of latitude and longitude, like where it gets pulled and stretched. So you'll see like this is all pretty even and equitable here in the middle, but then it gets really weird out here on the sides, like Australia looks super stretched out and strange. On this particular one, on this one, there, see, like, this is all pretty even, but then we get a little bit more stretching at the poles. So this, while it looks like a more traditional map, we don't have quite as big a discrepancy up in the north. Russia, northern Europe, Greenland, up here in Canada. So you can play around with these. And kind of click through. So you're comparing. I'd like you to pick at least 2 of these to compare, and then think about how the world is visually representing these changes, about who has power and then who doesn't. Once you're done with that, you're going to go to Edge Elastic. So you would, you're clever, you'll link to Edge Elastic. Mine looks a little different, but you'll find this one. It's Unit 1, Lesson 1, Why Study Africa. And you'll just take that. It is a short constructor response, so do your best to answer that in a short written response. Once you're done with that, do double check that you have finished everything. You're turning it in the Google Classroom. You've taken that mastery check and submitted it. And once you're done with that, you are done for the day. Thanks so much. See you next time.